What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's weather outlook for Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. Taking a look at the national U.S. satellite picture, you can see there's a lot of moving parts going on here. While we do have quiet weather in the Northeast, what's not shown here is that there is smoky conditions in the air. The smoke from the wildfires that's going on up in Halifax and Nova Scotia, that has made their way down through New England into Pennsylvania. We also have this old area of low pressure off the southeast coast of the Carolinas, and we have this blob of energy that's ongoing in the Gulf of Mexico, which we're going to be watching for the next several days. As of right now, low chance that it becomes tropical, but nonetheless, it's that time of year. You have to pay attention to any disturbance that there is in the Gulf of Mexico. Across the Four Corners region, we do have a system that is ejecting northeastward that's going to provide showers and thunderstorms to northern Texas, Oklahoma, even Kansas, where there is the probability of not only severe weather, but there is the potential for some flooding concerns today. And because of that, first off, taking a look at radar here, you can see here's that blob of energy coming out of the Four Corners region. There's already some rainfall on here, more shower activity right now than what the models are showing. Then if we come down here to Florida, you can see just to the west of Florida, we do have this blob of energy, which is circulating, and it's going to provide some much needed rainfall to portions of western Florida, like St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay. You do have some shower activity, which is good for your drought situation. Now taking a look at the national hazards map, and you can see here, we do have those air quality alerts that are up from the Great Lakes down through to parts of all of New Jersey, New York City, Philadelphia. Then we have these flood watches, which are up for portions of northern Texas and Oklahoma, and even portions of New Mexico. Taking a look at the Weather Prediction Center for today, there's a large slight risk of excessive rainfall, but you do have a moderate risk area across portions of Texas and eastern New Mexico. There's also a slight risk of excessive rainfall today for portions of eastern Florida, where showers and thunderstorms are going to occur today. Taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center, you can see slight risk of severe weather for portions of New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and even southeastern Colorado and southwest Kansas, where some severe storms are expected this afternoon. Going to the day 2 time frame, there is the slight risk of severe weather across portions of Texas, and on day 3 there is yet again another risk of slight risk of severe weather across portions of central Texas. Moving on now to the National Hurricane Center. Here's that disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's click on it. You can see here it's just a blob of energy at this time. There is an area of low pressure associated with it. They're giving it a 20% chance of development right now. I will say this, it was at 10% yesterday, now it's up to 20%. At this time, we're not expecting it to become tropical, but given the fact that it's going to hang around a while, and the models don't really know where it's going to track, some go south, some take the energy east and into the Atlantic, we'll have to watch what happens. Waters are warmer than normal for this time of year, so because of that, it is something worth watching just because of the amount of time that it's going to be present in the Gulf of Mexico. Moving on now to the models. Let's take a look at the FV3 model. This will give us a good indicator of what's going on with Texas today. And you can see there's also going to be some showers and storms today across portions of the Rockies, where there is a marginal risk of excessive rainfall. Taking a look here, you can see later on this afternoon into the evening, showers and thunderstorms do really get going across portions of northern Texas, even Kansas. You have some shower and thunderstorm activity today across portions of the Great Lakes, and then you can see the activity that gets going this evening across Florida, and that may even continue into the overnight hours, as will the activity up here across portions of Minnesota and portions of Kansas. That activity should lift up into Nebraska overnight, where there could be some elevated storms. And then you look down here in the Gulf of Mexico, and the FV3 is showing that energy hanging around. So this will allow for some daily showers and thunderstorms for the drought-stricken area of Florida. Then you come into Friday, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. Portions of the Colorado mountains, yes, this model is projecting some snow. Whether that happens or not, remains to be seen. And Friday, yet again, another eruption of showers and thunderstorms. But there's something I want to draw your attention to for Friday. Take a look at New England. I think there's going to be a slight risk added for the Friday time frame in New England for the potential for severe weather. It's going to be a hot day on Friday. I'll show this to you in the Northeast. And you can see here, temperatures will get up to near 90, if not over 90, along the I-95 corridor. Therefore, places like from DC on up to Boston is going to be very hot, and that is going to allow for there to be some instability to form, and you can see that here. Instability, it gets almost near moderate levels, 1,000 to 1,500. Once we get over 2,000, you're talking about moderate instability. So this is something we're going to have to watch and see. I think there's a slight risk for wind, hail, maybe even an isolated tornado as this front will start to push southward. It's not going to clear through New York City and Philadelphia until some point on Saturday, and I'll show that to you here on the GFS. So let's start looking at the longer range forecast. Now we're coming up to Saturday, and you can see here, here's the backdoor cold front. It does push south. You can see Saturday afternoon, showers and thunderstorms erupt once again. And then you have another wave of energy that kind of breaks off, it closes off, becomes an upper level system. You're going to have showers throughout the weekend in the Northeast. And then this is going to try to form some sort of a low off the coast, and that could really make for a stormy pattern in the Northeast. Places like Maine, Portland, Maine, Boston. It's going to be unsettled for a good portion of next week with some well-needed rain, because you're going to see when we get to the drought portion of this video, you can see it's fairly dry up there. Unfortunately, it's not going to give relief to the northern mid-Atlantic states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey. I don't think it's going to do much for us around here. I mean, it's been super dry. Here in Philadelphia where I live, it's one of the driest Mays ever recorded in history. Taking a look at the longer range here, you can see here, it does get relatively stormy in the south and Texas again. I mean, I think it's safe to say a major dent is being made in the drought situation in the plains. And let's move on now to temperatures. When we take a look at temperatures here, we'll start off here with the shorter range. You can see tomorrow and Friday do get warmer in the Northeast, but look at Saturday. Yes, that's correct. 40s and 50s in Maine because of this upper level system. I mean, really impressive for this time of year. Look at this. On Sunday, you're talking places, I'm going to zoom this in. I want you to see this. Look at this. You're talking just low 60s in Pennsylvania. 40s and 50s again in New England on Sunday. And that could even continue in the Monday simply because you have this closed off upper level system, which is going to keep clouds, showers. If that coastal system gets going, you're talking heavier rain in Maine. You could see anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain from that if it really gets going and takes time for it to move out. Let's go back to the national picture. There's something I want to show you in the longer range. Now we're going to move myself over here so you can see this. Look what happens. Look at these temperatures in the plains. They really start to bubble up. That's a ridge that's going to form. That ridge is eventually going to push eastward. And once this upper level system breaks in the Northeast, by the way, look at this. This is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday morning, 40s again in the Northeast. That's going to eventually break late next week. It could move out faster. The GFS could be delaying it too long. But once that moves out, look what happens. Here comes the warm weather in the 300 time frame. Most of the east, with exceptions to the south, most of the east will really warm up as we head into middle of June. But the first half, the Northeast is not looking that warm. It's going to be relatively below average temperatures. Now let's take a look at the Canadian real quickly and see what the Canadian says for the tropical system, or the blob of energy in the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see it doesn't do much with it. It finally eventually ends up, it actually ends up here over the Bahamas. And watch what happens. It pretty much disintegrates and gets pushed out to sea. But you can see here, as we look at next week, the Canadian also suggests there could be some upper level activity. It's a bit more east with that coastal system, but the overall flow is generally out of the north, and you have this troughing over the Northeast, and then another area of energy rotates around this mess, and finally by the end of next week, It tries to break, and you can see that ridge does build on the Canadian. And let's take a look at total precipitation through 240 hours. You can see here very impressive amounts of precipitation across portions of Texas on up in through Kansas. And you can see, look at the drought-stricken area in Florida. Look at that. It finally, you do get the rainfall that you need. All right, this day in weather history, 1985, there was a U.S. Canada tornado outbreak. One of the worst outbreaks in Pennsylvania history. Take a look at this map here. There were massive amounts of tornadoes. And yes, there was one EF5 tornado. There were 8 EF4 tornadoes, 12 F3s, 7 F2s, 12 F1s, and 4 FOs. At the time, they were just called FO, F1, F2, not EF. But yes, there were 44 tornadoes in total on that day. Again, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York State, even Canada. And Pennsylvania was the worst tornado outbreak ever on record. Here's that drought look real quickly. And you can see here, we still have the drought conditions that are ongoing in the plains. I think a dent's going to be made into that. And I think some sort of a dent is going to be made in the Florida drought situation as well. I think in places like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, I think it's safe to say, at least in Northern Virginia, and much of this area right here, I think the drought situation, it's going to worsen. You're going to see more drought popping up on this map. There's no indications of a heavy rainfall event in this area, other than scattered showers and thunderstorms Friday and Saturday, which not everyone is going to see. Moving on to the 1 through 7 precip outlook from the WPC, you can see here it's going to be fairly wet across the plains, even portions of the Rockies. You can see also across portions of Florida. Drought relief. And again, where that low may get going in New England, you can see anywhere from 1 to upwards of 3 inches of rainfall is possible. Taking a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, well above average from the northern plains through to the west coast, below average in the south, and much of the east coast below average. We haven't said that entering June in a long time. Below average in the northeast, above average in the south, below average in the southwest. And taking a look here across the northwest, it's going to be above average. 6 to 10 day precipitation, above average from Texas through to portions of California. Below average in the Great Lakes, and slightly above average in Florida, slightly above average up in Maine. And on the 8 to 14 day outlook, much of the same. Above average precipitation from California through Texas and through the Tennessee Valley. Below average in the Great Lakes, slightly above average in Florida, slightly above average in the Northeast, with just near normal in the Mid-Atlantic. I don't think we're going to be seeing much rain in my neck of the woods. Alrighty, that does it for today's weather update. We'll probably have another one tomorrow or Friday. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Thanks for watching, everyone.